I'll tell you what, we got done planting just in the nick of time. We actually finished up the last few passes in the rain yesterday. We got close to an inch of rain last night on top of the other smaller rains we gotten previously. It's wet out there, so man, I'm glad we got that cotton. We got that cotton ground just in nick time. Plus, it's been cool the last couple of days too. That annual blackberry winter, we getting it. Normally, we don't get our cotton planted until after blackberry winter. This year, we got it planted before. Could be huge if we don't have to replant, but won't know that for a few more days. So in the meantime, we got our shop cleaned up this morning, and it's time to deal with the aftermath of planting, get all of our equipment ready to go again. Onto the planter, what have we got wrong? Well, we've got a tire that's come dismounted on one of our front units, pusher units that we use for planting soybeans. Also, it's not supposed to do that. I don't know how that happened because everything was fine when we got done planting soybeans, and then these units are raised up whenever we're planting with just the rear units, but they're still close up to the ground, especially with the cover crop, they can catch and drag. But we got that bearing out. That one's loose. Well, we got another wheel off. Wiggle it.
It's got a little wiggle.
Yeah, that's got wiggle, so that one feels all right. That one's definitely not good. So we got some bearings, and I think I got one gauge wheel on the rear units. Felt pretty good bit of slop in it, so we're going to check that. So basically, we just got some bearings to replace, and then if I can get a hold of Precision Planting tech support, our brain box right there, we're having problems with it connecting when we first start up in the morning. We've got to repeatedly just plug and unplug it till it finally fires up and everything starts communicating. So we tried replacing the SRM in there. That didn't make any difference, so I'm thinking we got a weak solenoid in there, but I'm going to get on the phone with Precision Planting and figure out what the exact flow and figure out what the actual flow of electricity in there is, and find out you know, why we're having difficulties, because it's getting worse and worse as we progress through cotton planting. It took longer and longer to get to communicate, and I'm worried here planting double crop beans. There's going to be one morning it's just not going to connect and communicate, so we got to get that figured up. So Andy, let's try taking off some of these loose wheels and make sure it's actually the bearing that's bad and not like the housing busted. And then if it is the bearing, we'll probably, if we got that many going down, we'll just go ahead and replace the bearings in all the rear ones, because if those have gone down, some of these others are probably not too far away from it. And the last thing we need is a slow down there in wheat harvest, replacing bearings and press wheels. That bearing still feels fine, but it is mighty loose in that housing, and I don't know why that happened, because I don't see any cracks in it or anything. I've never seen that happen before. Oh crap, so just instead of replacing the bearing, it looks like I gotta replace the whole wheel. All right, on this one right here, bearing definitely feels fine, but when you spin it back and forth, right there, the bearing's spinning inside the housing, which is just going to further wear it out more and more. So that whole housing's crap. All right, and then on this one right here, bearing's not even spinning. the whole thing's spinning inside the housing right here. Oh, I'm sure there's some temporary measures I can make. I could probably dimple the bearing race or maybe wrap some aluminum foil around it, just try and wedge it in there, but it'd only be a very temporary fix. I tried this stuff before and, well, it got me buying short term. It didn't last long. So it looks like I'm gonna have to get some new wheels ordered. All right, I think what I'm gonna do is I'm not gonna replace those rubber wheels. I went down to my planter stash and found some Martin spikes that I ran on my old planter, and these are the ones we used to have on the rear units, and we went with some double disc closers later on when we had the planter, and just put these back in the old shop, but they're still in good condition. Probably need to change the bearings out in them, but I kept on running these on the front units because it's the only closing wheel style. We can't run furrow force or double disc closers on the front units because there's not enough clearance between the front units and the toolbar. So I was really happy with the job they did planting soybeans. So I think we're just going to go back with one of these on one side and then a rubber wheel on the other side. That always did a real good job for us. So Andy, anyway, back there in the back of the old shop, I think I got a couple more that are loose. The rest of them are mounted on some closing arms, so we need to take them off. But we're going to need 10 of them because we can't run a spike in the middle front unit because there's not enough clearance for it. We'll have to run 2 rubber wheels on that, but the other 10 we can run a spike on one side and then a rubber on the other side. Well, I'll tell you what, the humidity has returned with a vengeance after a couple-day reprieve from the cold front. But anyway, we got our brain box off here, and really not a whole lot up in here. We got the SRM module, which is really kind of the brains of it, whatever. But anyway, when this gets signal from the tractor, I think it sends power or turns on these solenoids somehow. When I unplug it, I can hear them clicking. So it makes me think that they're working, but for whatever reason, something is not communicating and sending power and communication through the wiring harness of the rest of the planter with all the other modules on there. I tried replacing that SRM with a known good one that did not fix it. The only other thing in here is the solenoids. I mean, that's the only other thing that I think it could possibly be, because power goes from here directly to modules on each row unit, and all of those are working fine whenever they finally power on. All right, I think I found the problem. If y'all can see my multimeter right there, here's the solenoid, ground. All right, I'm getting 12 volts in on that side, but with everything on, I'm not getting 12 volts out that side. It looks like I'm getting 12 volts to my signal wire, but I'm almost positive the problem is that solenoid. Even though it's clicking, it's bad and not energizing whenever turn the key on. We just have to keep on repeatedly plugging and unplugging that harness to and then finally, eventually, it will make connection. But I believe the problem is the solenoid. But I'm gonna call Precision Planting just to be sure. I don't much care for just replacing parts willy-nilly without knowing for sure, especially as expensive as some of these parts are. All right, apparently there's a long queue in the support, so they're gonna give me a call back. In the meantime, I just saw something else needs our attention. This hose right here going to our vacuum fan, it ain't looking too spiffy. And as big as that hose is, it could drain the hydraulic reservoir on that tractor in no time. So we'll go ahead and yank it off. Fortunately, this hose right here does not go all the way down the center mast, down the drawbar, up to the tractor. It only goes about halfway down, and we got some connectors there. So that's all the hose we got to replace, thank goodness. Be sure to watch your back real good when working around under these things. It's kind of dangerous now.
They will poke you.
So I've caught mine a few times.
Oh yeah, it's worse when those Martin wheels hit the top of your head too.
All right, well, we putting on the finishing touches on the planter there, getting that hydraulic line replaced. Got all the spikes on there. Got everything greased and serviced. Only last thing we got to do is the solenoid, but that won't be in for a few days. So all we got to do is swap that out. No big deal. And this thing will be ready to go plant again. I don't know what the next thing's going to plant. Hopefully it won't be planting any replant. And hopefully the next thing we plant, a little bit of corn. Got our corn maze to plant before we get started in wheat harvest. And then right after that, got all our double crop beans. So we're about ready to pull this out of the shop, get something else in here a little bit later this afternoon, but I want to do a couple things outside the shop first, Andy, before I get back in here again.
Let's do it.
All right, what we got going on with our semi truck here, ignore all the bird poop on the hood, but the driver's side part of the cab is down quite a bit lower, and it's kind of been getting worse. I'm pretty sure that the spring on the driver's front wheel is probably getting a little weak, letting it sag to this side. Don't see any broken leaf springs or whatever, but we're just going to take it over to International, let them figure that out, because there might be a problem with the frame. We don't know. Just go ahead and give it a good inspection, make sure it's going to be good and roadworthy for the coming wheat harvest and fall harvest. Hey Andy, just pull it down in the shop and let me put a water hose on there. Yeah, that's something we could do ourselves, just replace the spring and everything, but you know, our time is short, and there's a lot of other things I most definitely know what's wrong with and know how to do, that my time's better off spent doing those things, getting those things done, and just letting the experts handle something like that. Thanks to a viewer who had an awesome idea about marking these guide wires, we decided to take him up on his advice, and we got a bunch of these pool noodles. And I don't even think these are pool noodles, because I think they're insulation, pipe insulation. Kelly got them somewhere online that they're split in the middle, and we're going to put them on the cables here to make them a little bit more easier to see, because you can see we're standing right next to them, and they're still not really easily visible, and you can only imagine what it's going to be like at nighttime if we're over here harvesting or anything, come up on one of these all of a sudden, especially got dust and stuff blowing around.
A nightmare.
Yeah, the last thing we want to do is risk damaging our equipment on these guide wires, or even worse, knocking the guide wires loose and having that sucker come toppling down on us.
Yeah, those are both bad scenarios.
I mean, the only positive that would happen in that scenario is, well, at least there wouldn't be a tower there anymore.
We would take the tower down at least.
I'm sure these are going to fade probably within the space of a couple months, but still a white noodle is going to be easier to see than what these gray cables are.
Camouflage cables.
So we got a total of 6 different sets of guide wires, and we're going to mark them good.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah, they a lot more visible. See them two over there all the way from here.
All the way.
I like that. I don't remember who the viewer was that suggested that, but thank you. That's a mighty fine idea. I'll give you $100 if you climb that tower and carry the GoPro with you.
You wanna play rock, paper, scissors for it?
I can tell you, I ain't getting up there.
I ain't coming back down if I get up there.
I'll give you a chance for some beer money this weekend, though.
It is seriously just curved. Like,
the way this wind blowing, I bet it's swaying a little bit up there. Does anybody else have to do that to their R-Series sprayer to get to start? All right, we got to get to spraying, and it looks like we might have kind of gotten like a break in between grains. Fields should hold us up, and our corn is quickly coming to the point where we won't be able to spray it. So what our recipe is going to consist of: a quart of Roundup Power Max, 48 ounces atrazine, 4 ounces of Rim Q right there. This recipe been doing a fantastic job for us for the last 4 years or so. We used to use Halex. I just didn't like that 54 ounce per acre use rate. Had to handle a whole lot of chemical. Rim Q does just as good a job, and definitely a lot lower use rate. So we're gonna get the first batch mixed up and see if we can go fight some weeds in our corn crop. Like I mentioned back at the shop, our corn desperately needs to be sprayed. And not because it's bad weedy, because it's not. I mean, you look out there, I mean, for the most part, it's pretty dang clean. You know, our worst problem is going to be some crabgrass, you know, around the inroads where our cover crop wasn't as thick. But overall, I mean, our crop's pretty dang clean. But the problem is, the herbicides we use, the residual herbicides that we have to put out to prevent weeds from coming up, have growth restrictions on the label. And I can't remember if it's atrazine or RIM-Q, might even be Roundup, but anyway, one of them I believe has a growth restriction of 12 inches. That means you can't spray that chemical once the crop reaches 12 inches tall. And we got corn right out there at the V4 to V5 stage. It's getting real close to 12 inches, and we get another rain out, cotton will probably grow right through that growth stage, and then we wouldn't be able to legally apply the herbicide. And I don't know if that's just a legal restriction because it wasn't tested or whatever, or there also could be a physiological effect on the corn, that the corn's not able to withstand or tolerate the herbicide as well as it can as when it's young. So you know, I don't really know which side of the coin it is, but regardless, we got an opportunity to spray, and we're going to try this afternoon. We're at least going to try to get sprayed what we got planted the first couple of days. Of course, that's going to be the tallest, the most mature, and I'd advise, you know, a little bit more time until we can get the rest of our corn sprayed. Hopefully we'll be able to, you know, keep on spraying tomorrow, just depending on what the forecast looks like when we wake up. You know, we've been having late afternoon thunderstorms the last several days, and it's definitely a lot wetter and heavier out here than what I would like, but we're not rutting it up. We don't have the luxury of waiting any longer to start spraying our corn. You know, not only we got to get the herbicide out, but we've also need to put some nitrogen on our corn, like right now too. So, but we only got one sprayer. We can only put out one thing at a time. Now, there's no label restriction on nitrogen, but the problem is last year we started using our stream bars to apply our nitrogen over the top rather than using drag hoses. And nitrogen has a very high capability of burning any kind of green leaf tissue that it touches. And when the corn is kind of small like it is, so, you know, V5 or earlier, you know, there's just not a whole lot of plant out there for the nitrogen to land on, so you really don't run much of a risk of burning it. However, this corn is getting after it, and it's going to start getting a lot bigger in a hurry, and then every day that goes by that we don't have nitrogen on there has a chance of burning it more and more and more, which probably wouldn't lead to, you know, much of a yield reduction. But, you know, bottom line is we don't want to do anything to hamper this crop, slow it down, hurt it in any kind of way. Because right now, at this point in the season, I've got one of the best corn crops I've ever had. I mean, we got looks like a great stand, and I'll cover more of this in the next video when we do a crop tour, but looks like we got a fantastic stand, and this stuff is off to the races. I don't think I've ever had corn come up out of the ground and start growing as quickly as it has. I mean, we started planting about 3 weeks ago, and we've got corn already right there at the V5 stage. It just seems like it's really taken off this year, which is a good thing. I'm really tickled about our corn crop so far. It can still fall flat on its face. We might have a severe heat wave and drought come June and July, but as of right now, I've got no complaints whatsoever with our corn crop. I'm really excited about the potential. And then not only that, you know, that corn price we've been complaining about all winter and spring, it's actually started easing up a little bit. I've started contracting a little bit of corn, and hopefully it will keep on going that way. All right, while Kelly and Andy get back on spraying corn, I got other things to do, like pull litter trucks out. Yeah, I would have had you some good action, me pulling them out, but as always, GoPros let me down at the worst time. They're fantastic cameras as far as getting, you know, good, clear, stable footage. But God dang, they got some frustrations about it, like freezing up at the most inopportune time. So aggravating. But yeah, we're already getting prepared for wheat planting this year, getting our chicken litter hauled in. Guy that I buy a lot of litter from said, I got 3 barns cleaning out. You want the litter? Yes, sir, bring it on. As hard as I had getting litter, you know, last year, I'm not going to turn down an opportunity to get more in here, make sure I got it on hand. So, we're going to get it all, I think they're hauling 5 loads in this one spot. They got 1 load right here, so what we're going to do is keep it all pushed up in a nice pile. That way it'll have a nice pyramid to shed water, won't soak up all that water, be in real good condition this fall, and plus it's going to have quite a few months to compost. So anyway, they've been hauling in the last couple days in amongst the rain, so I got a few other piles I need to get pushed up. So. All right, back for load 2 of the day. See if he can get out without my assistance. Oh yeah, it's done dried up quite a bit in a few hours. All right, well, we'll get this piled up. That'll probably be all the litter hauling and stockpiling I show you. I'm sure y'all still a little tired of the my litter spread videos from just a little while ago, so we'll bring you back with something different. All right, in between waiting on litter trucks to get out here, getting the next project in the shop, our bush hog, and unfortunately our 4440 too. So if y'all remember back from cotton picking last fall, you know, we had a little bit of trouble with the bush hog and stuff, and anyway, don't want to repeat that, so we're going to completely overhaul it. Drive shafts, going to take them off, take them over to Wiles Drive Shaft in Jackson, have all the U-joints replaced, have the ends replaced, and have the shaft straightened out because we got some wobble in them. This stump jumper right over here that y'all remember came off in the field, and I did weld it back, and yes, it is holding. However, you know, it was a field fix, so we're going to take this stump jumper off, take it over to Bo at J&S and see if he can just completely remake me another solid bar. You know, mine could hold for another 5 acres, could hold another 10 years, don't know, really don't want to test it, so we'll see if he would be able to do that. We got blades off, we'll sharpen them. This gearbox on the center was practically brand new. I think we replaced it, I don't know, 3 or 4 years ago. Not gonna have to touch it. Got no reason to think I've got to touch that one. That gearbox we went through last fall and replaced. That one over there, we're gonna go through, replace bearings, seals, and everything. I can feel a little bit of slack in the stump jumper on the other side. And then here on the 4440, sucker's flat. Why is it flat? Oh, look at that big gash on the sidewall right there.
How'd that happen?
That is non-fixable. So we're going to have that tire replaced. The tire that is in dang good shape. Why that couldn't happen to this tire on the dual that's pretty much wore out, I don't know. It always happens to the good ones. AC needs to be charged up too because it's not working, even though we just had this compressor replaced last fall. We've obviously got a leak on it. Don't know how bad of a leak. If, you know, as long as I can charge it up and it lasts 3 or 4 months, I'll be fine. Otherwise, we're going to have to find a leak on this system somewhere. It's always something. But look at this stump jumper here. See if y'all can hear it. Hear that little bit of slack there. So it's not out, but I'm gonna feel a lot better if we go ahead and replace the bearings and everything in there. I know a lot of y'all said I need a new bush hog. I know there's a certain person on this farm that would agree with all of y'all.
Yeah.
But what was that?
What I guess I need to like start flashing people on the highway to get a new bush hog because you know that's the only way that we're gonna get the money for it.
You can always start an OnlyFans account.
I'm about to. Seriously, I thought all this traffic going by, I need to put a sign up that says honk for a new bush hog, and then put the Venmo and the Cash App on the bottom, like all these little kids do for Venmo me for my birthday. Well, Venmo me to get a new bush hog.
In the meantime, until she gets extra revenue rolling in, I'm gonna fix this one because it's a heck of a lot fixer to fix this one than go buy another used bush hog that's probably $10,000 to $15,000, and then there's a good chance I'd have to do a lot of the same stuff to it anyway. So we're gonna fix this one, and it's gonna be fine. And we're gonna run it this fall, and we're gonna be happy with it. A new bush hog?
Yeah.
I ain't no telling, probably $30,000.
Drop in the bucket. You acting like it's like 50.
Or it might be 50, I don't know. No need in spending that kind of money when I can spend, you know, a few $1,000s and have a good as new one. All right, Kelly, if you will, get on the forklift. I'm gonna get that choker chain. I'm gonna pull the nut off, and we'll get this stump jumper off.
Great.
Yes.
I appreciate it.
Come on, come on, come on. Go put it in the bed of my truck. All right, Andy just got done spraying post-emerge on the corn. And we got to immediately turn back around, get some nitrogen put on corn. And to put our nitrogen on, we're using Nita Mag's stream bars. This is our second year using them. Last year they worked flawlessly. We used to run drop hoses down the middle. Those work good too, but nitrogen definitely gets to the corn a little bit quicker because you're, streaming all the way across the field, not putting out just a band in the middle of the rows that nitrogen then has to migrate over to the corn roots. So really like these, as long as you can get your nitrogen on early enough before you get too much leaf area out there that might potentially burn it. So we're gonna get this sprayer set up and bring you back out in the field. All right, right now he's purging his booms, getting nitrogen all the way through the system. It takes about 25 gallons to be able to get the booms completely filled with nitrogen or water, whatever our product is. See the streams there on the ground? We'll get to the plant a lot quicker than just one single stream down the row. Now on this nitrogen, we're variable rating our nitrogen. We're not putting out just a blanket application of one rate across the field because not all areas of the field are capable of producing the same amount of yield. So if it can't produce the yield, there's no sense in fertilizing for that yield. So what we do is our seeding prescriptions that are variable rate based upon the productivity of each area of the field. That's what we're basing our nitrogen prescription on. I take the prescription that I wrote for my seeding, and through the ag software, I'm assigning a target rate for each seeding rate within the field, and then that's what we're going and applying. I think this farm right here, we're applying anywhere from 17 gallons per acre of 32% UAN all the way up to 38 gallons an acre, and there's about 3.5 units of nitrogen in each gallon. Now we've already put out a blanket application of 56 pounds per acre of nitrogen dry with ammonium sulfate whenever we planted. If you remember back from our planting videos, I commented how I screwed up because I was wanting to put out around 75 units of nitrogen, but that buggy did not put out the correct rate. Anyway, I compensated for that on our side dress application. Anyway, like I said, we're using stream bars on this. We tried them last year, real happy with them. They're less mess, less fuss than what the drag hoses are. But the thing is that you have to apply nitrogen when your corn's still pretty small. Now you see here, you know, our corn looks fantastic especially for the weather that it's gone through, and it's still relatively small. It's right around the V5 stage, and how you tell what stage it is you count how many leaf collars we have present. All right, first leaf, there's V1, V2, V3, V4. We've got a collar. We got a collar present right there, and then this leaf right here, we almost see a collar, that would be V5. Now you see, we just don't have a whole lot of leaf surface here to catch the nitrogen. The nitrogen will burn the corn badly under certain circumstances. You can kind of see some white specks on the leaf. That's from the atrazine that we sprayed over here yesterday. And I was real concerned about getting this nitrogen on, because well, corn's about to get to the point that it's going to take off and grow. We got rain coming in tonight, rain all day tomorrow, potentially rain early next week, and our method of application, corn gets much bigger than what it is, we run the risk of burning it severely. So that's why I'm so anxious to get started on getting some nitrogen spread. At least get the corn fertilized through for like the first couple of days that I planted. That'll buy us a little bit more time, because the rest of our corn is going to be, you know, a little bit farther behind. But if we happen to get rained out for an extended period of time, I've still got the dry poses in the shed, and we will put them on if I have to. I hope I don't, but we always got a backup plan. And also, if you remember from a little bit earlier this year, I commented how I was going to reduce my nitrogen rates just because the soil health's gotten to a point where I think we can start reducing our nitrogen rates and not suffer yield loss. And in all the prescriptions that I wrote, I reduced 10 units of nitrogen from each level of my seeding prescription. So on average, we're going to be putting out 10 units per acre less across the board than what we have been doing in the past. I know to a lot of you conventional till guys, this looks like a mess, but to me, it looks pretty dang beautiful. Got a good stand of corn, looking good and healthy, and once it gets a taste of this nitrogen, there ain't gonna be no holding it back. It's kind of funny to think, corn's real young. Once we get done with our fertilizer application, we've only got one more trip across this field. We'll be done with corn, and that won't come until tassel whenever we apply a fungicide. Tell you what, talk about an easy crop to grow, especially compared to cotton. All right, we're back on this sucker today. Got a rain out last night. Try and get the keel cable replaced in it. Tired of coming over here and scorching our hands to manually work the lever. Let me tell you, the dash of these tractors is not someplace you want to work.
Unless you have needle nose fingers.
Which I most definitely do not. And I don't know why this keel lever could not be on this side of the pump. It had to be on the inside of the pump, which you can't hardly access. All right, we got it on there. I don't know if it's adjusted properly or not, so fire it up, Andy, and see if it kills it. Pull it out. Doesn't look like it's perfectly aligned, perfectly adjusted, but it's stopping the engine. That's what matters. On to the next thing. All right, we got the other stump jumper off so we could get the gearbox off and rebuild it, and good thing we did. This one right here about to have a come apart too. So that weld is broke all down through there on that side too. So that one was not too far away from this whole center thing just ripping out just like the other one did. So we're gonna carry it over to Bo, let him work his magic with that one too. That one should be a little bit easier than the other one, considering it hadn't been completely broke out. And it'd be easier to fix it up right. So next thing we're gonna do before we pull these gearboxes off is we gotta pull the drive shafts off, and let me show you why we're going to rebuild these. All the U-joints are good right now, but we're going to have them replaced anyway. But the big problem is you see all that slack right there in those splines, and especially on this end. The other end's not quite as bad, but got this weight of the slip clutch on there and stuff, and it just you know, it just wears away at these splines. Luckily, the splines on the gearbox shaft are a lot harder than the splines on the hub shaft. So, well, in addition to having all the U-joints replaced, we're going to have these ends replaced too with fresh splines, so they fit on there a lot nice and tighter. And that'll probably solve a good bit of the wobble problem, but I'm gonna have him check the straightness on all the drive shafts, and if he needs to, you know, do any straightening on them, we're gonna have that done too. He's done wonders on drive shafts for me before, getting them straightened out and saving us the cost of the new one. If you look down here on this end, I mean, there's not hardly any slack. I mean, that end's probably still good, but we're going back with new everything on this one. This center drive shaft, this part's brand new, or at least only a couple years old. It's still good and tight, so we're going to leave it alone. Probably just have him replace the U-joints in it. All right, look at the splines here on this shaft. Look, see how wide it is at the top. It's got kind of a nice flat surface on the very top of the spline. Now look at the splines on the hub here. You see how they're kind of sharp and pointed? That's where they got worn down. So new ends on these shafts, I ought to fix them up like new. All right, Andy got these gearboxes out while I just sat here on a chair, drank a beer. He just tossed them up over his shoulder like he's a man.
One in one hand, one in the other.
Yeah. So we got both of them out. We got all the parts we need ordered for them. Just gonna go through. I got 4 bearings per gearbox, 2 seals per gearbox, and I got a bunch of shims to get them shimmed back up properly. So waiting on parts to get in. Got drive shafts off, so everything need to be worked on. This thing is completely stripped off. I think we got enough content here for a video, so I reckon I'm gonna send Andy back to the field, spreading fertilizer. I'm gonna haul some of this stuff off to the shops to get it fixed, and we'll just go ahead and call this a video. So anyway, guys, hope y'all enjoyed it. Appreciate you watching. See you in the next one.